It is almost September of 2025. And if Trump and his administration doesn't roll back the tariffs, his insane tariffs, we could be heading into the worldwide depression. You probably, or most definitely I should say, heard about tariffs. But for some strange reason, media sources, people, even professionals, they cannot simply explain you how these tariffs from Trump and his administration will crazily affect your wallets and our economy and our businesses. I've been in income tax business as a professional for about 25 years. I've been dealing with clients from all over the world, maybe from more than 20 countries. My clients have income levels from $1 to $170 million a year. I doubt that there is anybody in the world could say the same thing. So said that, let's go to understand what tariffs are. A tariff is a tax on imported goods. Just like you pay in sales tax at the store, you pay in the same tax almost at the border when you bring the goods into the country from different countries. Who pays the tariffs? This is a very important question. And you led to believe that somehow the company who produces or the company who brings those goods to our country will pay those tariffs and our country will be benefited and you and your wallet will not be affected. But it's not true. The reason because it's not true is that the goods around the world have established in their prices. For example, you buy in coffee or you buy in a car, the pricing already established to the minimum because everybody wants to sell. And when you increase the tariff, a tax, sales tax or tax, wherever it is, you increase the cost of those goods. And with Trump's tariffs, that increase is 50%, 100%, 30%. The companies which have profit margins of about 10%, 20%, they cannot bear the cost of paying those tariffs. So they have to pass the cost to you. So you will be paying that tariffs at the end of the day when the goods will reach the shelves. Let's talk about history of tariffs. Why it was important before and insignificant now. Long time ago, let's say 200 years ago, there was no agencies like tax agency, IRS and different agency that would collect the taxes. They would know like everybody who does what and have like some kind of like information, income tax, payroll tax. There was no such things. So whenever somebody bring the goods into our country, it's logical to tariff, to tax those goods at the entrance of our country, which could be a port where ships would come in like to our country and bring the goods. So when they bring the goods, the agency, like a government agency, would understand what it is and put the tariffs and collect the tariffs money for the government, for our country. It was then. So now tariffs before 2024, it was only 2% of our tax revenue of our country. So it was about $100 billion of the total tax revenue of about $5 trillion. Tariffs are insignificant income in our country. But why do the countries are still using the tariffs? What is the purpose if it's insignificant? And there is a specific purpose to it. You have to understand that in America we have higher cost for our labor, for insurance, for property taxes, that rent. So those costs are built up into the total cost, and whenever we sell the product, let's say a car, we charge a lot more than our competitors bringing the cars, as an example, from different countries. So today the tariffs are a tool not to collect the money from other countries or businesses, but to protect our businesses, the segment of our businesses which cannot compete with businesses from the other countries, but they're important for our country. For example, auto industry, it's very important for our country, and we cannot allow to dismantle auto industry and allow different countries to bring the autos into our country. So thus we protect our auto industry by putting the tariffs on the imported cars. That's why today we are not using tariffs to collect extra money for the purpose of collecting the money. We are using the tariffs to protect our important industries. But what Trump did and Trump's administration, they put a blanket tariffs on the countries. It's just so insane, and let me explain you why. First of all, we understand that tariffs are not for purpose of income. It's immaterial. So he is trying to reinvent the wheel, and he's trying to prove you that increasing the tariffs, it will benefit our bottom line as a country, which is completely wrong. And here's the explanation. For example, let's say you're a company, American company, you bring the coffee beans from Brazil, you roast them in the United States, and you sell to Costco, to Sam's Club, and people buy that. The other company bringing the coffee beans from Colombia. Suddenly, Trump says like, okay, let me tariff Brazil with 50%, but Colombia will be only taxed by 10% tariff. And you say like, okay, so who cares? Because you go to the store, you don't care. But the problem is this. You have maybe a friend, maybe a relative who worked for United States company which brings the coffee from Brazil. Now this company cannot compete because prices, as I told before, have been established, and the quality with cost, it's all played out, and you go like in a store, you are not realizing that everything already kind of settled. And when you bring in the extra 50% tariff, it just destroys the competition. It destroys everything what business stands on. So what's going to happen? That company which was bringing the coffee beans from Brazil will be forced out of business. But you say, okay, who cares? Because maybe the people working, the employees from that company will go and work for the other company, competitor, which was bringing coffee beans from Colombia. Who cares about Brazil? Okay. Who cares? Let's say that those two companies, when they bring the coffee beans from Brazil and Colombia, they would also bring in packaging, containers and other stuff from China. That's actually the truth. So they also would pay for 35%, maybe more. We don't know how much Trump will put the tariffs on China. Now it's extra 30%. So now you have issue with packaging and containers and extra tariffs of 30%. So let's imagine that there is a company in China who realizes the opportunity and they start working with Malaysia company. They would establish, because China close to Malaysia, they would establish a company, a Chinese company would establish the company in Malaysia. They will bring the coffee beans from Brazil and they will just bring the packaging from China. They package, everything will be done in Malaysia, and they will bring in United States at the 19% tariff which is imposed by Trump on Malaysia. So now United States company which will bring in everything from Colombia, not everything but the coffee beans from Colombia, the packaging from China, they would be 10 to 15 or 20% in a gap against those Chinese companies who potentially could establish business within the Malaysia country. So it's a cares. This is insane. Let's say that you say, but who cares? What I want to do is buy a cheap product, and if it's a come from Chinese company and through Malaysia, I don't care because I'm ignorant and I want to pay lower cost. I'm with you. So what if Nike, which has an enormous manufacturer, and not just Nike, many companies, like almost every company is producing now goods in China. But let's say Nike understands that producing goods and bringing goods from China is extra 30 to maybe 100% tariffs in the future. So they start thinking, okay, what do we do? And Malaysia is less expensive, it's 19%. So Nike cannot manipulate the price because you want those t-shirts, you want shoes, and it's American company which produces the goods in different country. So whenever they bring the goods into our country, back to America, they have to pay the tariffs. In China, we're talking about blanket tariffs. We're talking about tariffs by country. So now Nike cannot absorb that cost because Nike's profit margin, and you can go to cnbc.com and see for yourself, net profit margin for Nike is about, I think, 6.9%. So increasing 20-30% on the volume that they bring from China will destroy Nike. So they have to go to Malaysia to produce their goods. So when you say who cares? Do what you have to do. You're in business. You're big. You're evil corporation. You're making so much money. You should be able to do that. So Nike going to Malaysia, building a factory. In the meantime, Trump drank that coffee from Chinese company going through Malaysia, and it mixed up his mind because coffee from that countries, they could just have an effect on Trump's mind. Why not? And he decided, hey, let's actually give China a benefit of the doubt. Let's make China's tariffs 1%. In 1 year, he makes it so. So Nike, who established the factory now in Malaysia, they're thinking, oh my God, the Chinese companies, they will bring the goods to United States at the discount compared to Malaysia 19%. Now they have 1%. So Nike will go back and do manufacturing in China, back in China. So the point, I think you got the point. So it's insane what Trump is doing with our businesses, with the businesses around the world. Because our companies, they cannot go anywhere. But the other companies within the other countries, they don't want to deal with us. So Brazil, India, they already saying you know what? We will look for another markets. It's painful for them, but they cannot deal with that. You see, you have to understand it's not just about those countries. It's about our businesses dealing with those countries. So our businesses do not want to do business with Brazil because it's not worth it. It's expensive. So Trump is destroying the businesses, relationships. He's destroying everything what we stand on. So what's going to happen at the end? You have to understand that increase in tariffs will bring the inflation because businesses will be forced to increase the pricing. Other countries will be reluctant to deal with us. So our companies will have less business with other countries. It will create the stagnation. It will create the loss of jobs. It will create the less imported goods. So Trump is destroying the whole country and the whole world. So what do we do? First, we need a political opposition in our country. We need our politicians to work for us. For example, when Trump is offering ideas, laws, or other good or bad orders, we need this opposition not just to say something like it's bad law or it's a good law. We need a political opposition which tells what to do differently or better. Also, we must demand Congress to roll back all the tariffs which Trump implemented. We need also demand from Congress to pass the law which would be limiting any president, this and the future presidents, to start tariffs wars. It's just crazy what a president, one person, can do to our country and the world. But the starting point, I think, to better understand political situation in our country, please consider to read or listen my book. Please like and subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much. You take care.